In tonight's Government Insider, the threat of a vehicle cyber attack. Last July, a pair of hackers took control of a Jeep Cherokee as part of a news report for Wired. They cranked up the air conditioning, blasted the radio, turned on the windshield wipers, and cut the accelerator. It was an eye-opening report. 8 months later, the FBI issued a warning. This threat is real. Enter the GAO. For more, I'm joined by David Wise, Director of Physical Infrastructure Issues at the Government Accountability Office. Dave, quantify the concern here. Why did Congress ask you to study the cybersecurity of modern vehicles?
Well, Morris, first of all, thank you for inviting me on the program. The real issue here when it comes to cybersecurity as far as the automotive aspect is concerned is really safety, and that was Congress's primary interest. So we looked at the number of issues concerned with vehicle safety as it relates to potential cyber attacks.
Now, before we scare anyone too much, are there any real-world examples of vehicles being hacked, or is this just simply an area of research?
Well, there's really the issue of the research is one that is ongoing. The Jeep Cherokee aspect that you talked about earlier, that of course is a real live example that was done on a control basis. But many things have been happening now in the cyber world that people didn't think could happen a few years ago. And I think if you get into a car today, you see vast differences between the new cars of today versus cars of even 5 or 6 years ago. They're much more complicated and have way more cyber aspects to them, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a number of other wireless aspects that make the cars just much more vulnerable.
It's the Internet of everything. You know, we've heard about the hackers getting into baby monitors and watching somebody from afar in a home that people, the mom and father, wouldn't dream that anybody could be watching their baby besides them. Now, what does the term domain separation have to do with this?
Yes, that's a really important term when it comes to vehicle cybersecurity, because this is the aspect where you really want to have differentiation between the parts of the vehicle system that are concerned with safety, such as steering and brakes, and other parts of the vehicle which are concerned with things like entertainment and some of the other aspects of the vehicle that are less important for safety. It's really important, according to the researchers we spoke to try to set up kind of a firewall between those two aspects, and that's really the meaning of that term.
Your report also identified other cybersecurity challenges. I'd like to focus on one of them. Automakers don't build each and every part that goes into the vehicles they sell. They're concerned about the supply chain. Explain that.
Well, really, the issue of cybersecurity is really a shared responsibility between the auto manufacturers themselves and also the parts suppliers, as well as the Department of Transportation and other government agencies. But this is a situation, I mean, for a long time, parts have been manufactured in one place and then brought to another place. So obviously there's vulnerability in the supply chain. And I think the situation with globalization and with various trade agreements has become a little more acute in the last, say, 5 or 10 years, with a lot of parts being produced offshore. So this makes, I think, some of the researchers and some of the regulators a little bit more nervous about the potential for cyber attacks based on different aspects of the different aspects of the chain of parts supplies and manufacturing.
Now, you mentioned the Department of Transportation. It plays a pivotal role in this discussion. Where are they on guidance?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is some late-breaking news on that. In our report, we noted that the Department of Transportation was about to come out with some interim guidance at the end of March, and in fact they did. Well, actually, as of April 1st, they issued interim guidance, which is meant to help agencies understand the vulnerabilities and decide whether or not, if there is a cyber attack, it could lead to a safety defect that would justify a recall. Right now, that guidance is interim and it's out for comment for anybody who is interested in, whether it be different agencies or citizens, to comment on that interim guidance.
It's a great topic. It's only going to get more complicated. David Wise, Director of Physical Infrastructure Issues at the GAO. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Morris.